So, today we're going to talk about the Great Depression. Just like a super quick overview of what happens in terms of like how it started. Um, Great Depression is this post 1920s, we're all partying. And then this period between the 1920s and the start of World War II is this really like dark, grim, kind of like don't know what's happening. Great Depression, both economically and like psychologically, it's just bad news bears. So technically, 1929 is really when the Great Depression like officially starts. That's when the stock market crashes. However, there's a lot of like backstory. It's not just like overnight everything fails. Um, there's got to be a lot of like structural changes first. So the first major like structural change that's happening, if we think like 1924, 1925-ish, is the fact that our economy shifts, right? For the longest time, we predominantly have been an agricultural economy, meaning we grow things. After the Industrial Revolution, now that we're using factories and everything, that agricultural standard is dropping. We don't need it anymore. Like, yeah, we still grow things. Yeah, we still need plants, but it's not the like foundation of our economy like it used to. Not only that, but people aren't moving anymore. After the Civil War, after Reconstruction, when we have that great migration north into like Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, all of these now major like production cities, um, once people get where they're going, that's it. So now housing is dropping. And because housing is dropping, like, okay, we sell less or we sell fewer houses. But what that means, big picture, is that like supplies for housing is also dropping. So our lumber industry is dropping. Our like furnishing businesses are starting to crash. And everything that goes into making and like furnishing and creating a house and a home, all of those businesses also start to fall away, which on one hand is fine because that means that like people aren't bouncing from city to state to state. People are where they are and that's where they're going to stay. So like that's good because good to be stable. But it's also pushes us into this period of like uncertainty in terms of like what the standard for our economy is going to be. The other thing that starts to decrease is this idea of consumerism. Yes, the 1920s is a party. Yeah, women are like showing their ankles and people are going on dates just because dates are fun. Like, yeah, all that stuff is happening. Um, but once upon a time, things were built to last. Okay. The vacuum that I use, my grandparents bought in like 1962, and it works just fine. Things were built to last. So once you bought something, that was it. Like you didn't need to buy a new vacuum every 5 years. You didn't need to buy a microwave every like 6 months. Once you had it, you had it. So there's this big boom initially in the Industrial Revolution because everybody's buying all of these consumer products. Everything's like going great. But then we're good. We don't need them anymore. We don't need to keep buying stuff every couple of months. So now like the businesses that initially shot up and like shoved us into World War One as the economic like powerhouse of the world plateaued a little bit and now they're starting to decrease. Again, on one hand, good because stability, but on the other hand, we put like all of our focus on industrialization and like figuring out how to make these things super quick, and now we don't need them. So it starts to become this like, uh-oh, what are we gonna do? Like, we don't want to grow things. Also, we don't need to keep making things. Crap. Plan A is we'll just sell them to Europe. But Europe's out of money because World War One. And Europe borrowed a bunch of money from us. So we're waiting for Europe to pay back our debts. The majority of Europe is waiting on Germany to pay back their war reparations because we charged Germany, arm and a leg for the war. So Europe is waiting for Germany to pay them back. We're waiting for Europe to pay us back. Meanwhile, our economy is kind of like, well, poop. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to make? People aren't buying our stuff anymore. This is not going to end well. Okay. So because of that, businesses, oh, I'm standing away. There you go. Businesses take out loans, right? That's what you do. If you need some more money, you take out a loan. If you need to buy a house, you take out a loan. If you need to buy a car, you take out a loan. If you need to like boost your business, but you don't have the capital for it right now, take out a loan. And that's fine. That's normal. So businesses start taking out all of these loans from the banking system in order to like make their company look better, right? Advertising and all that stuff. And also like make it look like their company has a bunch of money. Do they have a bunch of money? Yeah, because they took out a loan. Do they owe all of that money back to the bank? Yeah. So they don't actually have a lot of money. So all of these big, like seemingly booming businesses are faking it. Okay, and it creates this misrepresentation of what companies are doing and how big and how strong and how like stable all of these companies are. So after the businesses take out the loans, yeah, they look awesome, right? They're like, look at us, we, are the most stable, we pay all of our workers well, we're gonna last forever. You should buy stock in our company. And the American people are like, okay, it seems like a cool company. It seems like a company that knows what it's doing. So, sure, why not? So, American citizens start buying stock in all of these companies, basically like buying part ownership, right? It's an investment. When you become an adult and you deal with the stock market, if you want to buy stocks, you're basically telling the company, like, hey, here's my money, make the company better so that I then get more money out of it. Okay. So that's what people do. They start loaning money to businesses, sort of, right? They start buying stock in the companies. And then things go bad, right? Because we have this expectation of like, well, our economy's up here. All of these companies are making themselves seem super awesome. So we have this like false understanding of how structurally sound our economy is. And pretty soon that's going to blow, right? This would be like if you are actually really terrible at soccer, but you tell everybody that you were on like the Lithuanian national team and you like were the MVP for 6 years in a row, and you like were at the Olympics, right? And you like talk all this game that you're super awesome. Everybody's gonna be like, oh, that's cool. Like we have this all-star on our team. We're gonna cheer for him. And then the first game comes and coach is like, all right, Sven, you claim to be super awesome, so go play soccer. And you go out there and your cleats are like tied together and you run away from the ball because you don't actually know. You were just trying to like make friends and seem cool. That's what happens to the economy. Okay, we pretend to be super awesome and super great, but in actuality, our businesses are running out of money because things are changing, because nobody's buying anything anymore, because Europe owes us all this money. We don't want to admit that we're struggling. If we admit that we're struggling, then nobody's going to buy our stocks, and then that's not going to work. So we just lie about it instead. Good. Okay. So this is what ends up happening leading up to then, the official stock market crash. So people start to realize that companies are faking it. Okay, so they want to sell their stocks. They want to say, hey, company, give me my money back because I don't trust you with my money anymore, which is fine. That's what the stock market is. You buy, you sell whenever you want to. So people start like asking for their money back. The companies don't have that money, right? That's why they took out the loans in the first place. So all of the like brokers for these companies start to like call up the bank and say, hey, bank, can I, as an individual broker, like borrow some money to pay all of these people back? And the banks are like, I mean, I guess, but the banks only have a limited amount of money because remember, all the businesses took out loans. So then the banks have to then go to the company and say, hey, company, you need to pay back your loan. And the company's like, well, we can't because all of the people are taking all of their stocks out of the company. So we have this like expectation of what's going on up here, but really we're chilling down here. And people start to realize it. And when they realize that there's this huge gap in like reality and perception, that's when the stock market crashes because everybody just starts pulling because they've realized that they've already lost money. And if they don't take what money there is out now, then pretty soon they're not going to have any. And it's this like mass chaos, mass fear of I've already lost a little. I don't want to lose any more. So I'm going to take it all out while I can. Do I, as the individual who just like sold all my stocks, get a little bit of money back? Yeah. Did the company that I just sold all my stocks lose a bunch of money? Oh, yeah. So that's why businesses start to fail. And the bank runs out of money because it loaned it to all of the companies that are now out of business. And if you're an out of business company, you can't pay your loan back to the bank. So then banks start closing, and then people start to panic even more because if the banks close, well, where's all our money? It's with the businesses that are out of business. So banks are out of business, companies are out of business. I got a little money back, but not really. If I'm rich, if I'm in the top 1%, their wealth from, I think it was like 1922 to 1929, increased 75%. For everybody else, they saw an increase of 9%. Okay, so yeah, everybody gets richer in the 1920s, but not at the same rate at all. So the rich during the Great Depression are like, I lost $5. Like, that's fine. That's not that big a deal. Your regular, like, average Joe was banking on the stock market functioning. Yeah, I have a job as a shoemaker. But again, once people have all of their shoes, unless you're, me, you buy shoes all the time, you don't need that many. So it's just this like cyclical, people realize what's going on. They sell their stocks. Brokers have to borrow from the banks. So the banks try to get their money back from the companies, but the companies don't have that money. So they go out of business. So the bank can't get their money. So then people can't sell. And then everybody's out of money. Okay. And Herbert Hoover gets the blame. Poor guy. So that's your quick introduction. Banking systems. Tomorrow we'll talk more about like specifically what happens to people and how the government reacts, and then what the government does to try to fix it, so that by World War II we can function. Okay. If you have questions, let me know.